Good morning, everybody. Boker Tov and Hi there from Rabbi Leah. This is Hi there with Rabbi Leah. And it's good to see you all again. Welcome to almost the beginning of another week, Tuesday morning. You will have an opportunity to see this video this morning as well as this afternoon. So if you have friends who missed it and generally like to get involved, you can certainly call them and let them know they have another opportunity to watch this afternoon. So, a couple things, one of which is I wanted to give you an update on the trivia contest from Hanukkah. Hanukkah seems like it's 1,000 years ago, but it's not. And I wanted to just let everybody know that we had a significant number of people who participated. It was so great to see all the forms turned in. I was really pleasantly surprised. And if this had been a sales marketing mail-in campaign, it would have been a rousing success. So I want to thank those of you who participated. And I'm not going to tell you yet what prizes are going to go, but they are anybody and everybody who participated is going to get a prize, is going to get something. So more on that later. You've got a big event coming up this Thursday night, which is New Year's Eve, and it's going to be a special evening, and I don't want to take away any of the fun, pomp, circumstance from that particular program because you guys are all going to enjoy it very, very much. So we're going to delay the Hanukkah announcement and the prizes until after the first of the year when it's not kind of getting in the way of any other big events that are going on. This is a big week at Seacrest Village. Why is it a big week? It's a big week because a number of those who work there and live there will be receiving the first of 2 COVID vaccines this week, actually tomorrow. And so it is a momentous occasion. It's a huge occasion and something we have been waiting for with bated breath, and it is nothing short of a miracle that in less than a year, in fact, in about 10 months, this vaccine was developed, produced, manufactured, and on its way. And we feel very fortunate that we will be among the first groups of people who will be vaccinated because, as they've been saying all along, the vaccine means nothing, but vaccination means everything. So until the vaccine actually gets into the arms of the people who are meant to have it, it does us no good. So that's a big event that is coming up this week. And I have been doing quite a bit of reading, mostly in the area of Jewish bioethics, because I want to see in Jewish writings from the past, as well as very current things that have been written, what the Jewish position is on vaccines such as the vaccine against the COVID-19 virus. And pleasantly surprised, although maybe not really surprised, but just it was a pleasant happenstance that there is just a ton of material being written from a Jewish perspective. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about that, as well as some of what's going on in the Jewish world vis-a-vis the COVID virus and responses to it and so on. So I'm going to start with an article that I found very interesting from definitely from an Orthodox point of view. And the question was, is it okay to give vaccinations on Shabbat? And most of us, as progressive Jews living in the United States in the 21st century, would probably say, of course it's fine to give vaccines. But it's not so easy in the Orthodox world because there are a number of procedures in terms of getting the vaccine ready that involve specific acts which would be considered um, illegal to do, so to speak, on Shabbat, or impermissible, let's put it that way. And I can't tell you specifically, but it would certainly require people to drive to the center where the vaccines are being given. It may require those who are getting the vaccine to have to drive to a place to get the vaccine. Not everybody's going to be able to walk to the place where the vaccine is being given. And there are probably other prohibitions that would impact the observance of Shabbat for somebody who is Shomer Shabbos in order to get the vaccine. So Rabbi David Lau, who is the chief rabbi of Israel, I guess that makes me the chief rabbi of Encinitas? I don't know. But he's the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi David Lau. And this past Thursday evening, which was ironically Christmas Eve, was it Christmas Eve? No, it was Christmas Day. He published his position regarding the administration of coronavirus vaccines on Shabbat. Now, you may wonder to yourself, what difference does it make what the chief rabbi of Israel says about giving vaccines on Shabbat? And that may not be of concern to me or to you, but it certainly is of concern to the large Orthodox community that does live in Israel. And specifically with respect to the availability of when one can get the vaccine. So Rabbi David Lau actually gave a two-part answer to the question. And the first part says that because the vaccine at this stage is not so readily available that shots are being given 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the answer is no. You may not get a vaccine, get the vaccination on Shabbat. He did say that when it reaches a point where the vaccine is readily available and is being given 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where you can actually make an appointment and go in at 3 o'clock in the morning to get your vaccine, that to the general public, that he is going to encourage the public to get vaccinated, even if it is on a Shabbat. And he says the more civilians we vaccinate and the faster we do so, the more lives we will save. The coronavirus endangers us all. The vaccines will save us all, and there is no greater pikuach nefesh than this. Now, that was actually said by a gentleman by the name of Yuli Edelstein, who is the health minister. But Rabbi Lau said that this is a medical necessity of the highest degree, and therefore, if the only time available to someone to get the vaccine or their assigned day or something like that happens to fall on Shabbat, pikuach nefesh, the saving of a life, takes precedence over everything else, and they may get the shot. I found that to be a very interesting ruling because, very frankly, given the stringencies of orthodoxy, I thought that it might be permitted. But I am glad to see that it is permitted. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the number of amazing blessings that are being written by everyone from rabbis to lay leaders to just plain old Jews in the pews blessings for the vaccine. And there are, as you know, blessings for everything in Judaism, including a blessing for the Tsar. For any of you who have seen Fiddler on the Roof, you know the blessing for the Tsar. But there are some specific blessings that are said when something new happens and when something beneficial and good happens in one's life. And you all know the Shehechianu, which is a bracha, which we say anytime we experience something new or we get something new, whether it is a car or furniture, or you're eating a new piece of fruit that you never tried before, or new food. So Shehechianu is probably one of the great blessings that we can say. But in addition to that, Hatov v'Hametiv, a blessing where we say that God is good and causes good, is recited even if the event is shared by multiple people. So if it's a new bottle of wine that's brought to a dinner table and there are four socially distanced people having dinner together, that's a Shehechianu moment. If there is rain that hasn't come down for a while and is helping with a drought, that is a Shehechianu moment. So before receiving the first shot, there is a place for talking about God who brings good and who rewards goodness. And the Orthodox certainly would believe that if you're able to get one of these shots, it's because you are a good person and you deserve to stay healthy and well. Not necessarily the same belief system of all Jews, but that is one way to bless. Rabbi David Wolpe at Sinai Temple in Los Angeles wrote a blessing, or not, didn't write a blessing, but is drawing his blessings directly from Hebrew liturgy that is already out there. So in addition to Shehechianu, he would also say, Sha'asali nes b'makom hazeh, blessing God for the miracles that God has done for me in this place. And it's a very interesting blessing because this is the blessing that we're going to actually hear in this coming week's Torah portion that is said by Joseph. Joseph was the youngest son of Jacob. His brothers sold him into slavery, into Egypt. He rose to become a very important person. He saved his entire family from famine by bringing them to Egypt and providing them with grain. And at one point in this week's Torah portion, Joseph is going to travel back to lay his father Jacob's bones to rest in Canaan, because that was a promise he had made to his father, that he would be brought back to the land of Canaan to be buried with his other ancestors. And on the trip back to Egypt, Joseph comes upon the place where his brothers threw him into the pit. And the blessing he says is, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher she'asa li nes b'makom hazeh. I praise you, God, who has done miracles for me in this place. Because had Joseph not survived, been sold into slavery, gone to Egypt, become a renowned interpreter of dreams, and then eventually very high up in the hierarchy of Pharaoh's kingdom, he would not have saved his brothers. The Israelites would not have been saved, and we never would have eventually had an exodus out of Egypt into the land which was promised to us, the land of Israel. And so Joseph tells his brothers not to be upset because everything that happened was preordained and was supposed to happen so that he could save them and their families. So you may think it's kind of counterintuitive to thank God for a miracle when you're about to have a needle put in your arm, and yet it is really a miracle. And the fact that we're having this done at Seacrest makes it even a bigger miracle. So there's another blessing that Rabbi Wolpe talks about, and it is Shenatan michochmato lebasar va'adam, God who has given his wisdom to flesh and blood. In other words, God who has given wisdom to human beings. And when we look at the development of this vaccine, the miraculous speed at which it was done, but based on research that had been done, that's been done for at least a decade prior to this. It is truly a miracle of science and of human ingenuity. And so we thank God for granting wisdom to human beings who are able to develop these sorts of things that will keep us healthy, God willing. Okay, so that's some of the blessings. So we talked about the Orthodox movement in Israel and Rabbi David Lau saying that it is okay to get the COVID vaccine on Shabbat as long as there is a lot of the vaccine being given at the time, and you got to get in there and get your dose. Okay. Read a number of articles about what various streams of Judaism, what various denominations are saying about getting the vaccine. And in every case, whether it is the most progressive of Jews, whether it is the most stringent of Jews, all are saying that because of the notion of pikuach nefesh, which is saving a life, which takes precedence over anything and everything else in a Jew's life, even so much as to be able to desecrate the Sabbath and break commandments of the Sabbath in order to save a person's life, that this vaccination is also an ethical and a moral imperative. Okay. So those who are saying, I'm not going to take the vaccine because God will take care of me and my faith in God is strong, and if God wants me to live, I'll get through this, and if God doesn't want me to live, then that's my fate, and so on. Judaism does not take that position. Judaism says that the imperative to love your neighbor as yourself is embedded in getting this vaccine, because there's nothing more important about loving your neighbor than not getting them sick. Okay. In addition, that the blessing of allowing those who are really doing the incredible mitzvah every day of being on the front lines, taking care of those who are sick, whether they're sick with COVID or sick with something else, is also a huge mitzvah. And so the almost every denomination of Judaism says that those that are on the front lines and making this kind of value judgment about who gets the vaccine first and the order in which it is distributed is also a highly Jewish concept. And Rabbi Hertzfeld, who is, I want to tell you who he is. He's a Jewish, he is in an Orthodox synagogue in Washington, D.C. He actually participated as one of the research participants in the Moderna vaccine trial. And he believe it or not, it doesn't seem like an Orthodox rabbi might do this, but he posted a video of himself receiving the shot on TikTok. And if you don't know what TikTok is, ask your grandchildren or your great grandchildren. But in a nutshell, TikTok is a platform, an entertainment platform online on the internet that shows very short videos. So like a maybe 15-20 second video. It started mostly with TikTok videos of people dancing, and then other people would watch that video and they would pick it up and they would videotape themselves doing the same dance. But now it is branched off. And so he made a TikTok video of himself getting the vaccine, which I think was pretty amazing. And he said that um, he wanted to try to make a difference in whatever way he could to help those on the front lines fighting the virus. It was important to him as a person of faith to embrace the gifts God had given us. He said, I believe the scientists are holy people. And he added, all the workers up and down the line who made the vaccines possible are incredible, holy agents of our Creator. So, one of the most important tenets of Judaism is that we human beings are created in God's image, and that each of us has within us B'Tselem Elohim. We have a spark of the divine. And one of God's most magnificent attributes is God's ability to create. And so, in having created human beings who can then go on to serve as creators of vaccines and agents of those companies so that there are other people who can distribute the vaccine and so on, this is all part of being being created in the image of God. We are doing godly work by allowing ourselves to be vaccinated and by vaccinating those who are equipped to do so, vaccinating others. He says there's a beautiful understanding in the Talmud that whoever sustains one soul, it is as if they have sustained the entire world. And it also says that somebody who destroys a soul, kills another person, it is as if they have killed an entire world. And so he looks at this web of connection that says that through this vaccine and through the miracles of science, we are continuing to do God's work of creation in our world today, as well as participating in Tikkun Olam, which is repair of the world, making the world a better place for all of humanity. So it's a very interesting thing to look at this vaccine, not just from a clinical medical perspective, but from a moral and ethical perspective as well, to say what is it that we are really doing when we allow ourselves to be vaccinated, to save our life, to save the lives of others, and so on. So I thought that was an interesting thing to look at as well, is what Judaism and what the various denominations of Judaism have to say. There was one other article I found, and this news report has been, there's actually two news reports. One came out today and the other one came out yesterday. And the one that came out today indicates that there's a Massachusetts Republican official who said he caught COVID-19 at a White House Hanukkah party. And you may remember that about 2 weeks ago, the White House was hosting a number of holiday parties, including Hanukkah parties, to which I never received my invitation. I know that the U.S. Postal Service has been running very slowly lately, and so I'm thinking mine got lost out there, but I never got an invitation. I'm kind of being tongue-in-cheek about this and a little bit sarcastic, But when President Obama was in office, a number of my rabbinic colleagues from around the country were invited at one point during his 8 years as president to the White House for a Hanukkah party. So, never give up hoping that the invitation may not come this year, but it might come in another year. This gentleman's name is, let me get it again because I want to be accurate here, Tom Mountain. He's been hospitalized twice in recent weeks, and he told the Boston Globe this past Saturday that he regrets attending the Hanukkah party at the White House on December 9th over the objections of his wife. So I guess you always have to listen to your wife. He is the vice chair of the Massachusetts Republican Party and the Jewish Republicans that are part of that group. And he is pretty sure that's where he contracted COVID. Sounds like a bad place to be when you're in the middle of a pandemic is in a room with a huge group of people, none of them wearing masks, celebrating and singing and eating in the same space. And he should have listened to his wife because his own family warned him. And he says, now I'm paying the price. He said, I was one of those people who thought I would never be a statistic, but any large gathering like that where you have people from all over the country, somebody's bound to have it. And unfortunately, now his wife, his son, his daughter-in-law, and his mother-in-law all have tested positive for the virus. So, unfortunately, he is bearing the brunt of having not been careful. He also admits that he was not careful about wearing a mask. So don't go to Hanukkah parties or any parties until this thing is under control. The last article I want to tell you about, or the last news story I want to tell you about, it broke this morning, or yesterday rather. New York State is now investigating Orthodox-run clinics that may have fraudulently obtained COVID-19 vaccines. Evidently, there is a network of health clinics that's owned by a Hasidic man, and it serves a number of Hasidic communities in Brooklyn as well as in upstate New York. And they are under investigation for administering COVID-19 vaccines to members of the general public, which is code word for members of their own Hasidic community. In New York right now, in New York State, as in many states throughout the country, only frontline healthcare workers and nursing home residents and staff are receiving the vaccine, and vaccinations are taking place at hospitals and nursing homes. But the Borough Park Yiddish news service reported that this company, Parcare, had obtained 3,500 doses, and that that the CEO, whose name is Gary Schlesinger, stated that they had received permission to vaccinate patients and that only people over 60 or with underlying conditions would be eligible first. Unfortunately, he was caught in a lie because he showed a picture of himself receiving the vaccine. So the Department of Health is investigating, and this is a big no-no. Evidently, this company, Parcare, operates 6 clinics. They are in Williamsburg, Borough Park, Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, and in Monroe, New York, which is the town in upstate New York that has the huge Satmar Hasidic community in Kiryat Yoel. And so the irony is that it is a number of these very, very Orthodox communities that have drawn fire and anger because they have flouted many of the laws regarding social distancing and continue to have these massive weddings with 40,000 people and so on. So unfortunately, there are some people who don't like to play by the rules, and it appears that that is going on, at least in part of the Orthodox community. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you've enjoyed this session of Hi There with Rabbi Leah. You'll have an opportunity to see it again at 2 o'clock this afternoon if you'd like to watch. And I'll be there getting my vaccine tomorrow. I'm excited about it. I'm a needle weenie. I call myself a needle weenie because I don't like needles, but I am very excited about this opportunity and this blessing. So lahitraot, I will see you soon. Bye-bye.